This is Jack Kanstul. I'm talking to you from the Kanstul factory here in Anaheim, California, where we make some of the finest musical instruments in the world. We're going to talk about the marching mellophone. The marching mellophone as we have it today was not always like this. I remember a time when a mellophone or mellophonium did not play very well. Now, you had mellophones going back at the turn of the last century. They were more like a French horn here in their wrap. And they were considered a four-man's French horn. You would generally play the French horn over the mellophone. But as things progressed up into the 50s and 60s, there was a design concept about a mellophone that Stan Kenton used, and many of you are probably familiar with that. That was called the Mellophonium. It was made by the Kahn Corporation. And this is a Kanstul version of the Mellophonium. The Mellophonium was pitched in F, E flat, so they had a change slide. Kenton liked it because it gave a middle voice sound. But if you do any research on it, it wasn't a very well in tune instrument. It had a lot of pitch problems, mainly because, first of all, they used a French horn bell on it, so it had a very thin taper going back here. This was more centered in the valve section. And my dad, at the time, we had started the Velvet Night Drum and Bugle Corps when we were kids in 1963. And my dad was the drum instructor at the beginning and later was a director. But he was also running the F.E. Olds Band Instrument Company at the time, back in the 60s, learning the trade under Foster Reynolds there in the 50s. He knew there was a need for a better middle voice option, because up to that point, what you would use as a French horn, now this is a much improved French horn over what we had, but you had French horns. Well, if you've ever played a French horn, especially as a trumpet player, I'm a trumpet player, it's tough. If you don't have the French horn embouchure, you hit a weed, you go up an octave. Very difficult instrument to play while you're marching or on the field, unless you're a French horn player. And even then it's difficult. So he wanted to take this instrument here and make it playable so that the drum corps could use it, which of course the mellophoniums, the mellophones started in the drum corps. I remember the Toronto Optimist had some mellophones back in the late 50s, early 60s that the Whaley Royce Company made up in Canada. And here again, they had the pitch problems that were standard problems on a mellophonium. So my dad wanted to improve the pitch center of these instruments so that you could actually play them. Now you have that today. This is a Kanstul mellophone, marching mellophone. And in fact, to even help with the pitch, it's got this thing called Tune Any Note. That's a tuning slide there, and that's adjustable tuning slide here. So you can actually tune any note. But the improvement on the mellophone is dramatic because of what my dad did back in the 60s at the Olds Company. If you play a mellophone now, it has a more French horn-like sound. I'm a trumpet player, so I can play this fairly easily. Play a scale. So you have your French horn sound on the field. So you can take trumpet players off or whatever and put them on a mellophone like you band directors do today, and you got a middle voice sound. But it wasn't, again, always like that. My dad was getting ready to make the GF F-sharp horns for the Velvet Night Drum and Bugle Corps. We premiered them at the Opera House in 1968 in Chicago, and we had the mellophone then. The first actual mellophone showed up at the corps rehearsal, I think it was about December of '67. And that's going to be another story. I think we actually have that one. We'll show you that. That was the prototype one that Olds made. So my dad was actually the one that started the bell front idea with instruments, the mellophone being a big one in that. Of course, we have baritones and euphoniums and all kinds of bell front instruments which come out of the corps. And it was my dad's original idea at Olds. They were the first one to have actual bell front instruments for the marching band. So let's try to recreate now what actually took place back in about 1967. I was just a kid, about 15 years old, accompanying my dad at night to the Olds company when he was making the Velvet Knights horns in his spare time in the evening, and I'll try to recreate what happened. Follow me. Try to envision this as being the Epi Olds Band Instrument Company that used to employ 400 people back here in 1960. And my father was making the horns for the Velvet Knight drum and bugle corps. He actually innovated the GF F-sharp bugles. They didn't have that before my dad got involved with the drum corps activity. That was his idea. And he's sitting here at the bench making the horns for the Velvet Knights that they were going to premiere at the Chicago Opera House there in 1968. Here again, he knew that we needed a better solution for the middle voice. I was playing French horn in the corps for a couple of years before that, and it was tough. So he had an idea. Olds had an old mellophonium hanging up on a peg like that. That's the Kanstul mellophonium, but they had the on mellophonium. My dad says, I got an idea. He says, come here. So he grabs this horn, takes it off the peg. He goes over to the strap bell area, pulls out an old strap flugelhorn bell. We've already cut this. He had to cut it. He cut it, he took it, and he crammed it inside this bell. Now, this is a mellophonium bell, so it's done right. But the Kenton mellophoniums were a French horn-like bell. Like this. So when he crammed it in, it looked something like that. And he said, play that for me. I want to see what it sounds like. Well, the old Kenton mellophoniums had no pitch center. You could play them like a siren. Woo, up and down. So I'm about 15 at the time. I pick up the horn and I play it, and it gave it a pitch center. It's like, wow, it actually doesn't float around anymore. There's some center to the pitch. So that was what my dad, what needed to be done with the taper to the mellophonium to make it to play correctly. This one here has that kind of a bend. You can see the difference between a French horn and a mellophone. It's much more like a pancake, if you will. It's flatter, flares out quickly. That helps center the pitch as well as its taper going back. This is a taper tube. It's all about tapering things properly to make them play properly. So that's what he did, and we premiered him in Chicago at the Opera House in 1968. We were actually the first West Coast corps to kind of break this thing for the West Coast corps. Santa Clara Vanguard, Blue Devils, they were not known back then. But the Velvet Knights kind of broke it for the West Coast, and then of course the rest is history. We do want to proceed with this a little further, so if you will, we'll have another video clip a little bit later in the season, which will show you the first prototype Kanstul mellophone, which changed how mellophones are played today. Thank you for listening.